The new Vogue cover is fatphobic, and fatphobia is anti-black. I am so tired of us pretending like we can only address one axis of oppression at a time. This is not okay. The exclusion of fat black women, disabled black women, trans black women, and people across those intersections, it's not okay, and it's anti-black.
This is an interesting take. So fat black women need to be represented in every space that was meant to give representation specifically to black women? Seems like you're conflating blackness with fatness, and that's deeply problematic. Looks like this shit attempt at virtue signaling has bit you in the ass.
So you're not alone. We actually don't have an evidence-based way to safely, reliably, and sustainably produce weight loss for most people.
Yes, we do. It's called a calorie deficit.
So, when are we going to talk about fat phobia in the jewelry industry?
Okay, actually though, this is a huge issue, especially in fast fashion. Everybody's body is a different size, so like clothing, we need different sizes of jewelry. And that's one of the perks of running a handmade jewelry business, is I can make anything any size that I want. So I make rings in sizes 3 through 14, necklaces come in 12 inches up to 26 inches, anklets, bracelets come in a wide range of sizes because everybody is a different size and needs a different size. Additionally, because it's handmade, I can make things any size I want. So if you need a custom size, I got you. Oh, and by the way, our jewelry is waterproof, so it won't turn your skin green.
If you can't fit the typical necklace around your neck, the damn necklace is the last thing you should be worried about. You are approaching dangerous territory.
Fat phobia also affects men. I've been seeing a lot of bigger women on this app criticize fat men for being especially fat phobic. And while I think that a lot of these women bring up a good point, I want to bring up an additional perspective. In their peer groups, women are more likely to accept body positivity and want to encourage their friends to love themselves no matter what they look like. Whereas men in their peer groups are constantly expecting more of each other when it comes to aesthetics. Men who are or were fat are or were submerged in a culture that prizes muscular excellence. So their experience of fat phobia and their experience of navigating out of it looks different from women. Creating a society where men too are respected in the bodies they have is really important.
This is such a weird generalization. You know, I met my friends in the army, and they were my friends when I was 160 pounds. They were my friends when I was 200 pounds. And they were my friends when I reached 250 pounds after I left the army. Now that I'm down to 190 pounds, guess what? They're still my friends. They respect me because I'm not a garbage human, not because I look like a Greek god. Most heterosexual men do not give a fuck what someone they're not trying to fuck looks like. Surround yourself with better people and stop the generalizations.
This is your daily reminder that hot people do not go on diets for the summer. Hot people are working on unlearning fat phobia and being anti-racist. Stop cutting out your food groups, Diane.
Hot people shut the fuck up if they don't like that someone else went on a diet because hot people mind their goddamn business.
This is your daily reminder that hot people do not go on diets for the summer. Hot people are working on unlearning fat phobia and being anti-racist. Stop cutting out your food groups, Diane.
I just wanted to bring your attention to the original creator of this video. This person is an advocate for intuitive eating, but notice they're thin. So intuitive eating has clearly caused him no issues. It's incredibly irresponsible to tell others, hey, you should intuitively eat because it worked for me. People's satiation is different. Eating intuitively for you might be a couple wheat thins and a bowl of Special K. And you could be satiated until lunch. While eating intuitively for someone else could put them on my 600-pound life. It would be like telling an alcoholic to drink intuitively. Sure, some people are capable of having a drink or two and going on with their days, but others will take it to the extreme. This is why everyone should learn about moderation because it's clear that intuition commonly leads to overconsumption. Wow, What a perfectly reasonable response to a good point.
So I have a degree in public health, but I also am a nationally ranked strong woman who is considered morbidly obese because of my weight and my size, not independent of my strength, right? I think it's important that we note which weight category actually does have the highest risk for mortality, and that is the underweight category. So studies over the past 20 years have shown that folks who are in the overweight category and the first two categories of obesity, so that's 1 and 2, tend to live longer than folks that are in the normal weight category. Even morbidly obese folks who follow the 4 principles that I told you about before tend to have relatively long lifespans. The riskiest category to be in by far, by a multiplier, by an exponent, is the underweight category, because your body is struggling for nutrients and you are not able to process the nutrition that you need in order to survive. So if we're going to have discussions about weight and health, it really needs to be focused on underweight population.
Say it with me. Studies that find that overweight people live longer do not account for behaviors such as smoking. I've been over this a few times now, but I have 2 issues I want to focus on. Number 1, until doctors start advocating for people to become underweight, your point is irrelevant. It's like saying we should stop focusing on sickle cell because cystic fibrosis is more likely to cause an early death. It's fucking silly. Number 2, mortality is not a great measure of health. So the mortality studies she mentions mean very little. What about chronic conditions? That's what's going to tell me a story. What about diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, male breast cancer, sleep apnea? What about every other disease associated with obesity?
This question is actually what prompted me to post my first ever TikTok video. To be at a BMI of 30 or lower, I would essentially have to lose almost 100 pounds. And I'm just not interested in doing that. We all know BMI is fucking bullshit. If you are in good health, there is no reason you should have to wait. So I am here to hopefully shine a little light on the plus size plastic surgery. Do I get some hate for this? Absolutely. Do I care? Not one bit. And if you need help finding a surgeon that accepts higher BMI, 35 and above, check out my Instagram.
What she's basically asking for is a doctor feel good. Obesity puts you at risk for complications not only after surgery but under anesthesia. Most physicians aren't willing to take the risk, especially if it's for something cosmetic like plastic surgery.
Here are 5 reasons why BMI is complete bullshit. I know I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. First, the person who actually created BMI, explicitly, it was not supposed to be used to judge the level of fatness within an individual person. It was literally just used to allocate resources. That's it.
It doesn't really matter what the creator says, it still predicts fat mass decently.
2 is it makes no scientific sense. There's literally no reason to square somebody's height in this equation. It takes into account literally nothing like bone density or muscle. 3 is
BMI is not a perfect system, it's more of a useful rule of thumb, but it doesn't need to account for bone density. Studies on the weight of human skeletons show a range that is not very large. Your bones are not going to be the reason you're found to be obese. As for muscle, irrelevant. As I said before, BMI predicts fat mass pretty decently. And one of the reasons for that is the fact that most people are not bodybuilders or athletes. Hell, most people don't strength train.
the person that created it was a mathematician, not a doctor.
That's nice. It's also meaningless.
4 is it was created 200 years ago based on the bodies of, shockingly, white dudes. So by very nature, it's rooted in racism.
It's racist because it's based on the bodies of white dudes. This is a non sequitur fallacy. Humans are incredibly homogeneous. There's not much diversity in our gene pool. If anything, studies have shown that diseases associated with obesity have a higher prevalence in minorities of the same BMI, so the system is actually even better applied to minority bodies as a way to assess disease risk.
5 is that it's been debunked. A 2008 study showed that using BMI as an indicator of health led to misdiagnosing over 51% of people.
I wanted to say I found the study she was talking about, but I realized that would be sloppy research on my part because it's going to have to come down to guessing. There's over 2 million articles published in over 30,000 scientific journals every year. What 2008 study she's talking about could be any one of the over 2 million published that year, the world may never know. So to this, we will say,